You're listening to the 808s and Joysticks podcast, now available on iTunes, Spotify, TuneIn Radio, and iHeartRadio.
Welcome to episode 20 of 808s and Joysticks, the show that bridges the gap between games, music, seasoned with pop culture. I'm Tyrell, and joining me today, as always, is Tom. Episode 20, yeah. Woo!
Yeah, it's episode 20. It's been a long time coming. I don't know what else to say. We started off in March, and now we're finally here at episode 20. We've done obviously the live episodes in between that, and we're really getting into the flow of it, really enjoying it. Once again, thanks to Dash and Podbean for the support throughout our time, and we look forward to continuing. So we're just going to jump in, and obviously, if you've been up to date on gaming news in the last few weeks, you'll know that Fallout 76 has come out, and my God, the game's a disaster for Bethesda, for the industry in general. It sets a bad precedent to release a game that is priced so highly and is so underwhelming and broken.
It's not even just it's not even just broken. It's just underwhelming in all factors, like from gameplay standpoint to the design to pretty much everything. I heard, even the network issues that are going on with the game as well. It's just an overall underwhelming piece of software. I wouldn't even call it a game.
Mm-hmm. It does feel like a cash grab, and we discussed this when we did our live E3 coverage, when we heard that it was just going to be online only, and we weren't too happy about some of the details, and then, you know, the more details we got, it seemed a little bit more like it could be a thing that works if there's only so many people. But I think the problem is that they really haven't designed this game how people wanted it. They haven't thought about the things that are going to be happening in the game. If you played a Fallout game, you know that the recent Fallouts have mainly been a single-player RPG experience. And by taking out all those elements of story, NPCs, quests, and having sort of quests in a way, but only with the so many people, like 32 people on your server, and then everyone wants to play it alone and doesn't want to play with you, it completely just takes away the immersiveness of the game in general. Like, you're meant to be in a wasteland and working together to get yourselves out, or fighting each other, but there's no one else there. And while that can be said that it is a wasteland and there's going to be no one else there, that doesn't make for a good game. Like, if you just dump someone in a massive open world on their own and there's nothing to do, there's, like, even exploration games have something to do. You have to go out and find things, and you can, you know, No Man's Sky, for example, find a new species. A lot of people didn't like that game, but it has a certain subset of people, a certain niche that like exploring things, and that's what they want. Now, Fallout also has like a dedicated audience, and those people want that core experience from a Fallout game, and they're not getting it. Yeah, I don't know what you think. I don't know if they should have maybe named the game something different.
It's just, well, from what we're seeing here, Tom, is we've got an outdated engine, which we'll also further discuss later into the show, because that's another problem that is just Bethesda just can't get it out of their head, that they need to keep using the creation engine, which is outdated as hell. Should have been abandoned in the PS3. Definitely shouldn't have been brought over to PS4. And now we're hearing not even rumors, confirmed reports from people, from Todd Howard himself, saying that this engine is also going to be carried over to the next gen. And I just can't believe it. We can see here with Fallout 76 that they had an idea. This is their first all-online game. I'm not paying £60 to play an online-only game that is essentially Fallout 4 again, but just online. There's no single player. You can't play the game being offline. You have to be online. The servers are supposed to be not even that great. I'm just for how much money I'm spending, I don't expect this from a game. It looks like, well, this is what apparently was happening. They were developing Fallout 76 alongside Fallout 4. And what I hear from that is, was Fallout 76 essentially supposed to be some type of expansion or DLC to Fallout 4 that just got too ambitious and they couldn't release it with Fallout 4, and they just thought, oh, we could probably make money out of this? Because that's what it seems like to me. It seems like an extension rather than a full $60 or £60 game. And I'm just really, really sad that this is what we see Bethesda doing. They're becoming more and more like their competitors. They become more and more like the EAs and the Ubisofts, and they're starting to really, turn gamers onto them. Like, people are starting to see through the bullshit. Some people are starting to be like, I'm not gonna buy the next Elder Scrolls. I'm sick of seeing the same textures and map layouts and the same gameplay. Like, what's the system called that you can stop and you can shoot people? It's called something. It's called like MIPS or Maps or something like that. No, I could be wrong. The thing where it's green and it shows all the stats.
Yeah, I know what you're on about.
For example, that's a very unique feature to the Fallout series. I really need to know the name because I don't want to sound stupid. That's a really unique feature to the Fallout series. And what's it called? Gun system. Oh, it's not a gun system, isn't it? What's it called? VATS. It's called VATS. Where you can stop, you can highlight the enemy, you can see their stats, you can see what would be best against them, and you can proper play it like a role-playing game. Now, being online, seeing as this is dynamic, you won't have a chance to then stop and analyze this real-life human who's also playing on their console. It's not going to allow you to get a read on what all their stats are and how to defeat them. Obviously, they're going to keep moving around. Therefore, that VAT system is now obsolete within the game. You can't use it to its full advantage that was made for in the first place. So now you have a unique system that's unique to your game is now obsolete because it's now an online only game. What was the point of putting that system still in the game where you can't use it anymore?
I think the reason why it's still in the game is because a lot of people put backlash on that they needed that system in the game.
But that's the thing though. Them as a company should be big enough now to know that, hold on a minute, they're all playing along with each other. By the looks of it, the game doesn't seem to be that populated. They were, not going to come across many enemies that are just going to allow for that system to analyze them, because it's an online game. You can't pause the game. You can't do anything like that online because it is online only. Therefore,
but if you were to implement a VAT system throughout the whole game, so throughout the whole server, you'd have to pause the game for everyone. Or slow the game down for everyone that's on that server at that current time.
Exactly.
So if you're walking through on your own, just exploring, then and there's someone else having a standoff, like a one-on-one, then you'd have to have your game slowed down for them, and it would get annoying and it wouldn't work.
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
you'd see people just jumping out of the game.
I'm not arguing that, it should be in the game and it should work, because it still does work. It's just that you as the player can't get a good enough read on your opponent, so therefore it's no point using that system. You might as well just use your normal shooting system. Do you know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't any point putting that in the game. You put that in the game for what reason? It can't be used by the player. That's one feature out of there. Apart from all the other features, it seems to just be Fallout again. And if I had Fallout 4, I would just carry on playing Fallout 4. I wouldn't bother getting this game.
No, I totally agree with you. I when you were saying it, I thought that it could have been like an add-on to Fallout 4, sort of like how you have GTA Online and Red Dead 2, the beta.
Yeah,
obviously is going to be coming for that there online soon, and it makes sense that it would have been like a nice addition, even if, say, I don't know, pay £10 and you get access to it. Like, some people will want it, some people don't want it.
Yeah.
And if they hadn't budgeted for that, for development time, then fair enough. Like, you pay £10 and it's an extra DLC. Like, there's other games have done that before for online modes, and it has worked.
Mm-hmm.
But to release it as a fully fledged £60 game, to be in the state that it's in, and use a lot of the same assets by the looks of it and from what I've read, and also then, you know, basically be that extension that it was, with maybe a little bit more functionality, but, you know, the game in its current state it's still at an extension stage. Like, from what I've seen of the game, there's not enough of me to say that it's an improvement on Fallout 4. There's in a way it's a downgrade on Fallout 4 because it's always online and you lose some of the mechanics like you've just mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
And then the fact that, you know, the game is not broken as such, but it's not in a stable playable state very much. Like, there's a lot of people having issues with this game. And it's not right that you should release that for £60. And then, especially the fact that, you know, we'll move on to when they're talking about they were going to give people refunds on PC, and now they're now rescinding that offer to give them refunds for the game that is basically broken.
Yeah, it's disgusting. It literally is disgusting. What do you think about this though, Tom? Like, what do you think about Bethesda? Is the writing been on the wall, like, for them? Like, we have been somewhat critical of Bethesda in the past, haven't we? So, especially looking at their last E3, which they really focused on Rage a lot, like, and where is Rage, actually?
Yeah, I think it's coming out. Is it out, or is it coming out next year?
June 2019.
Yeah.
Oh, that's coming out ages away.
But I think we've discussed a lot of these issues previously, and I think you could have seen it coming. So obviously the thing about the engine being outdated, you could see when Fallout 4 came out that the engine was slightly outdated.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean they can't keep the same engine and increment upgrade on it if they've got the ability to do that.
That's the thing though, Tom. So what happened was, because I was actually recently, just before we actually recorded the show, this morning actually, I was just doing some typical things, just going through my YouTube subscription, and I haven't watched a few Young Yeah videos. Shouts out to Young Yeah, he's very good. He's a very avid YouTuber that both of us watch a lot. He was talking about the engine, and I think you sent me that video about a couple of weeks ago now, about Bethesda and Fallout 76 and stuff like that. And he had a video on there, talking about how Todd Howard said in a interview on a German website, which has been roughly translated now, that because of Fallout 76, this is, I quote from Todd Howard, "For Fallout 76, we have changed a lot. The game uses a new renderer, a new lighting system, and a new system for the landscape generation." I'm going to stop there at the quote. Tom, what do you see that's really new in Fallout 76?
So the lighting might be slightly improved.
Does this sound like a business change, or does this sound like it's anything beneficial for the actual player? Like, who the hell's going to know that they're using a new renderer? Who's going to know that?
I mean, I think the stuff they've had to change is due to the fact that it's online. I don't feel like they've changed it for reasons other. I feel like they've had to maybe optimize it.
Yeah.
But they've not what I would say improved upon it in the sense where they may have improved upon it for a certain aspect, but they've not improved upon it as a whole. And the trouble is when there's engines out there, so EA have got Frostbite engine. Obviously we know Konami have the Fox engine. Kojima's got his own engine. There's things like even other like simulation games. So Frontier have got the Cobra engine. A lot of Microsoft studios use their own engines.
Mm-hmm.
Naughty Dog obviously as well, using their engine. And if you compare all those games that have come from those studios graphically, even performance-wise, you would probably see that Bethesda are quite low down on that list. Their games, like, fair enough, some of the older games, but, you know, some of the current games do not stack up to what we're seeing from, I don't know, from other studios. If you look at Skyrim compared to The Witcher 3, yeah, I know that Skyrim come out before, but it's still a drastic improvement on that game.
Mm-hmm.
Engine-wise, not necessarily game-wise, but, you know, technically-wise, it's a massive improvement. Now, if you compare Fallout 4 to The Witcher 3, and then you gave it to someone and said, well, which one do you think was made first? Without having any prior knowledge, which one do you think was made first there? I'd say that 7 times out of 10 people would say Fallout 4 was made before The Witcher 3.
Yeah, of course. People are always going to say that Fallout 4 was made before The Witcher 3. I think right now I even say that Fallout 4 was made before... I swear, when did Fallout 4 come out again? It came out way after, like, The Phantom Pain and those kind of games. Like...
It came out in November 2015. The Witcher 3 came out in June 2015. But, you know, yeah, I understand there's only 4 months difference in that.
Oh, what's good? Yeah, The Phantom Pain came out a month earlier than Fallout 4. But just look at the... Even though Phantom Pain is not a great game, but look at the quality of the games, though.
Yeah, but it doesn't specifically matter about when the game come out as such. It still come out after, so the time difference in between doesn't matter. But okay, even if it come out in the same year, why is that technology so far behind all the other competitors? Why have they not gradually improved upon it to a point where it looks better or performs better? You know, I've not played Fallout 76, so I can't say anything about that, but I did play Fallout 4, and while at times, you know, it's a good game,
mm-hmm.
It's not... When you play The Witcher, like, I've played The Witcher, and I can tell you straight away that game looks stunning. It's much better. I know Fallout's meant to be grittier, or whatever they want to say, you know. It's a good way to back up saying that your engine doesn't look as good because you want it to be grittier, but you've got to take into account that it doesn't look as good, and you know the load times, a massive thing for RPGs. We sit with Skyrim, the amount of times that you have to wait in that game on loading screens.
It's just
like,
it's
and they haven't improved that, and they need to either work on something new or really invest. Stop working on whatever they're working on for now and invest in improving their current engine to be up to standard with competitors for the next generation.
Yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, though. They're not going to, because, and it's really disappointing, because I wish they everything that you just said there, I wish they just took all that advice, because they would just be such a better company for it. But I'm going to continue on Todd Howard's quote, Tom, which just debunks everything you said, because they have no idea. They're for now anyway, they're not changing their stance. I'll follow on from my last line. For Starfield, even more of it changes, and for the Elder Scrolls 6 out there on the horizon, even more. We like our editor. It allows us to create worlds really fast, and the modders know it really well. There are also some elementary ways we create our games, and that will continue, because that lets us be efficient, and we think it works the best. End quote.
Right.
That's Todd Howard.
So it makes sense in a sort of in a way that makes it accessible to modders. So they have to take into account what's accessible for their user base, what are their user base comfortable with, because they're the ones that are going to be playing the game. And to prolong the experience of that, obviously they've allowed modding. Now, they've started to bring in a lot of modding things for consoles and stuff anyway, which people weren't happy about. And yeah, we can say that, Frostbite doesn't allow for modding very easily, or at all in some circumstances. It has made it really hard for games to mod games using the Frostbite engine. But if you're building an engine, even if you want to just take it and just start from the ground up, you'll never start from the ground up. They will still be able to look at what they've done before and maybe even use assets they've used before, or use pieces, areas that they've used before to build upon. And if they have a plan in mind to have modding from, the start, and have that in mind from the start, that they're going to build this engine up to be current gen quality with modern support, there's no reason why they can't build it from that. Build that from the start with that.
Have almost like a little bit of like an open source engine.
Well, if when they're designing it,
yeah,
like he's just said, they're used to the current engine. Yeah, that's fine. But at some point, if you're 20 years down the line, you go, well, I'm not changing something because everyone's used to it.
Yeah,
we wouldn't see possibly 60-70% of the companies that we currently know still existing because they haven't improved upon anything.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Damn, even if you don't want to improve and you feel like you've got to your wit's end, fuck it, do what everyone else does. Use the Unreal Engine. Do you know what I'm saying? Might as well.
As much as people don't like EA made a drastic decision. I can't remember when it was. I think it was 2013.
Hey,
to port all their games over into Frostbite.
I'm about to say Frostbite's hard, so I can't fault EA on that. That's a hard engine. So
they had struggles when they first started with that engine.
Oh yeah, of course, because only
games that come out,
only DICE could use it at first. So anybody who was on the DICE dev team that made Mirror's Edge and the first few Battlefields, like the new modern Battlefields, they were the only team that knew how to handle that system. It was only in recent years, really, since FIFA and that started using Frostbite in it.
Well, every EA game now uses
Frostbite, and it is
every in-house EA
and
game.
They update Frostbite regularly as well. I think Frostbite's on 3 now. Is it Frostbite 3?
I'm not sure, but they've took the initiative to basically work from their games from the ground up.
3.
And yeah, you could say they've got more resources available to them, but we're not speaking about a small studio. We're speaking about Bethesda.
These mans are huge. I can never ever think to myself that they don't have like
they hosted their own their own section at E3 this year. They're not a small company.
Exactly. It's just dumb. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just dumb. Especially as well as I just looked at the Frostbite. The Frostbite engine was first released in 2008 when the Mirror's Edge wasn't even running on Frostbite. Oh, that's interesting. What was that running on then? I swear
I'm not sure. But
it came out in 2008. So those two engines, the Creation engine and the Frostbite engine, are only a year apart. So they're basically around the same year.
Well, the difference is that EA have improved upon it or designed it in a way that it will be able to work for the majority of games that they have. Whereas, Bethesda use the same engine for all their games, but I should say in-house games because they still publish stuff, but they haven't, in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion by the looks of it, improved upon it enough in regular intervals. They just seem to be, they'll improve it to work with the current gen, and then they've improved the render or the lighting or whatever, but a lot of that stuff that was there is 10 years now, or more than 10 years the engine was there. A lot of the stuff that was probably used in that is outdated. Like, if they're not constantly up, I understand they'll have to update it to work with current stuff, but if they're not updating some of the stuff and using new techniques all the time and trying to get stuff to constantly work, you can tell the difference. All you've got to do is look at Battlefield 5 compared to Fallout 76. Battlefield 5 looks insanely good and runs... I'm not sure if it runs insanely well, but the amount of stuff that's going on the screen is a lot more than what's going on Fallout. And
graphically,
that game does not have as many problems.
Graphically, it's impressive, and there's one thing as well you can't even talk shit about. All the Call of Duty games always look sick. That's another company as well. Every single Call of Duty game does not look terrible, and it usually plays pretty well from the get-go. So, for such a game that's like made on such a tight schedule where there's 3 studios working, essentially they have maybe 2 years, maybe 3 years to work on it. That's not even including all of the expansions and like DLC that they still do after the game is released for like another 2 years. Do you know what I'm saying? So like, it just goes to show that Bethesda's basically being lazy, and it's our fault. We need to stop supporting them and actually like start to pull out our money and stuff like that. But it ain't gonna like stop unless people stop playing, and people aren't stop playing. They're playing it. That's what I'm saying. That's the thing. They're playing and they're complaining about it, but Bethesda's not doing any refunds at the moment. That's another thing. They're doing no refunds at the moment, which you already mentioned. The game is pretty cheap. It's basically dead on arrival. People aren't playing. The player base is constantly going down. And they're at a loss.
Well, we discussed off air just before this. Obviously, it's been Black Friday, the Friday before we recorded this. And we've already seen deals on Fallout 76 dropping to like 50% of its retail price. It's already half price, and it only come out less than a month ago. So that to start with just shows that it's not been received well as a game. I also seen one guy...
Not even less than a month ago, Tom. The game came out 12 days ago. Fucking hell. Wow. That is terrible.
I don't know if you've seen on social media as well, but I've seen a guy in GameStop in America. Shouldn't laugh, but he did buy Fallout 76 and then went to return it to the store and couldn't return it. This isn't Bethesda's fault. This is GameStop's policy, but he couldn't return it because he'd opened the game, which, in my opinion, is a stupid policy because you can't try something if you don't open it.
Yeah, if you don't open it.
But he got very angry with the game and not being able to return it, and basically threw a temper tantrum, as we call it in the UK, a temper tantrum, or like a child fit, and threw a lot of stuff on the floor in the shop and then stormed out the shop. But I can't condone his actions, but I can sort of understand his anger.
With him.
I could understand if I spent £60 on
I would
that
be really
and wasn't allowed to return.
I would be really upset if 12 days later, the game that I just bought for £60, that didn't work very well, is now down to like $30 or like £29. I'll be really upset. And then I'll try to go get a refund and they're trying to give me less money. I'm back for a game that's only been out for 12 days. I'll be upset. Definitely be upset.
To be honest, he should have just took the loss and take the L, lose $5 and move on. But he is entitled to have his own opinion and feel how he feels about stuff.
How is Fallout doing in... I'm just searching up. I don't know if America has, or any other countries have stores like CEX. I think they do have a US CEX. But
you could trade it in a GameStop and stuff.
I was thinking, but I'm just wondering how those kind of sites are doing.
I think
I
think you'll find it quite hard to find some.
They are currently buying it for £24. So
yeah, so you're looking at a drastic loss, to be honest.
Yeah, you're looking at a £36 loss. Mm-hmm. They sell it for 42, but even the little power armor edition with the helmet and shit, they're buying that for just £100. That was supposed to be one of the most limited edition things in the world. It is now being bought for just under £100, sold for £170. So,
well,
we can see what's gone on here from the time when a game like Red Dead is still being bought for £40 cash and still being sold for £50 in all shops, and then that game is being sold for £42 already after being out for 12 days. You could just see the comparison in the two games and how shit it is.
Mm-hmm.
So, but
we could
what's called it?
We can move on to some positive news about game sales.
We'll move on.
Obviously, Pokemon come out this week. It's already sold 3 million copies in its first week, which
impressive.
I think it's actually a record on the Switch. So, a year and a half after Nintendo's release of the Switch, they get in biggest selling games, and Smash is still to come out in the next 2 weeks. So we could even see it be broken again before Christmas. So it's positive news for Nintendo and the Switch going forward. Positive news for the Pokemon franchise as well. A lot of people were sort of slating this game as a fact that it's a handheld and for kids and stuff like that, and they didn't want that as a game. Now, Pokemon obviously stated that the actual RPG is coming later in 2019, and this is just a go back tie into the Pokemon Go mobile game that allows younger players to start off again from the beginning with a more basic experience. And a lot of people are enjoying it, but for a little bit of reference, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, when it came out, how many copies do you think that would have sold? Just based on how good that game was and how many people were very interested in that game.
Probably about 2 million. I'm guessing it's not. I'm guessing obviously it's not. It's not bigger than Pokemon Let's Go because that's the biggest they've had in it. So I'm guessing maybe roughly 2 million, maybe 2.5.
So 1.3.
Well, that's underwhelming. But let's just think about how many Switches were in rotation at that time, innit? Yeah.
1.3 in its first 28 days. So, okay, take into account that there's probably more than that after. But, Mario Odyssey then sold 2 million in 3 days. But Pokemon sold 3 million in 1 day. So, I think it shows, one, that the market for the Switch has expanded a lot, and two, that Pokemon is still as popular as ever, and if not even more popular in recent times now because of Pokemon Go. And fair play to the Pokemon Company, Nintendo, and Game Freak for actually capitalizing on that and doing justice to the Pokemon series. They haven't just tried to cash grab; they are releasing a game, and it is a good game, and people have got their faults with it, but it's still a good game. And they're not letting their loyal customers down. They are going to release a normal game for it later in the year as well. So I think that's positive news for gamers. Positive news that
it seems like
the company's actually caring.
The general consensus is that it's a very simplified version of the game. Like, it's not meant to be like the mainline games, which is, as I said before, like, fans just really don't understand stuff. So they're just looking at it and they're just like, well, why can't I battle and do all this other shit? Like, I'm just like, yeah, it's because it's a simplified version of the game. It's not a mainline game. They've already said that it isn't a mainline game. Which...
No. Well, you can still battle and stuff.
Yeah,
it's just like
but
the wild
anything
Pokemon.
You've got, any Pokemon that you've already got, you can't battle. So you just can battle new ones that you get, which is like fair enough, innit? I also heard there's a really stupid system how to trade in there. Like, your like trading code is like a series of like Pokemons. I think that's really stupid, and I don't know why Nintendo keeps doing bullshit like that. So like.
It's the Nintendo
I know,
way.
The friend codes and the little images as like a code to trade Pokemon. Like, can't you just search for a username and trade? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, why does it need to be so difficult? Like, I just don't get it. Like, they just really don't understand, like, online still. I just don't know what their problem is.
Yeah, that is one sad thing.
Yeah,
they
is what it is.
Can't really get that, but I think in time it'll come.
Well, hopefully, innit? I think they just need to like get someone really sick that knows how to do online very well from another company. Like, they need to steal someone from like one of the major three.
They need like a high up guy to design the stuff. But yeah. I should point out I did actually download the YouTube app on my Nintendo Switch the other day to try it out.
What's it saying?
It didn't load YouTube 4 times, and then I gave up. So
okay, well, that's not a positive. It's not.
It could just be what happened on the day, but it's not a great sign.
It's not a great or positive response, but yeah. We already said about Nintendo, and they need to definitely like get someone in there that needs to do their media side. Like, we know that it's a gaming system first, but we're just talking about as the climate of consoles at the moment, they need to have media apps if they want to still, compete like in the long haul. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, there's only so much that people will play the games for. Like, their console will get left behind if they don't have these things like Netflix and stuff, because then you're getting in the casual gamers, and that's the customers you really want. You want to keep people like that will use the system for other things rather than just gaming. Like, the hardcore gamer is cool, but the casual gamers, tends to buy things for convenience. They think they see a Switch like, oh, I can watch Netflix on it, and I can also play like Pokemon on there. Like, they think about things like that. Like, whereas like us, we think about like I want it to run the game at its best, like, you know. So it just all depends how you want to play the game. Not to say that the Switch is not good at playing games. It is very good. It's amazing what they've done. When I played Doom on there, I was blown away. I had no idea how Doom was being played on such a small system. Insane. So it's not to knock Nintendo, just I think a lot of people are in agreement that they need some type of like network, like internet and like media person to come in and like overhaul that for them. But you know, until we see something from that, I guess we're gonna have to carry on with YouTube apps not starting up properly. Yeah, I don't know. It could be Google's fault though. Maybe, I don't know if Google made that app and they sent it to Nintendo. Maybe, I don't know.
It could have been my internet, to be fair. Like it doesn't necessarily mean that it doesn't work. I just tried it.
Did you see other people say they had problems or?
I haven't looked into it. No, I only tried to click on it a few times and didn't work. But I have confidence that it will work. I've seen other people using it, so
okay.
I'm sure it does work.
Well, just a little like thing I'm sliding. Shenmue's crowdfunding is over, and it was over 7 million, making it the most funded game ever on crowdfunding site.
Mm-hmm.
So
I did see that.
That is a bit. It's a bit wild that they've got 7 million, and also I swear it's a Sony exclusive as well. Like Sony are back in the game as well. I'm not quite sure if that's true, but I know Sony had some type of like deal with them as well to get the game done. So that's a lot of money behind Shenmue. It's being published by Deep Silver, and it's coming out next year for PlayStation 4 and PC only. So this game better be good if it's got this amount of money behind it.
I mean, that's not a lot of money for a full 3D game.
It isn't, but an extra 7 million with whatever Sony's going to bring to the table and whatever Deep Silver's going to bring to the table is a lot of money, though, for Shenmue. Like, Shenmue's like, you know, it's not exactly like, that's a lot of money for that game. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, when you think about it.
Well, as long as it's not anything like Mighty Number 9, then I'll be pleased.
Yeah, you know they're not remaking the Shenmue anymore either. Like, they're not doing 1 and 2 anymore. They got cancelled.
I did not know.
Yeah, they're not remaking them. They just did the re-releases. Got cancelled due to budget constraints and development delays. So now they're just going straight ahead with Shenmue 3, and 1 and 2 are just going to be HD re-releases. And
fair enough.
That's about it. I think that's really sad because I swear that was a part of the Kickstarter as well. Like, the money will be used to remake the games as well. So I hope that people aren't getting scammed, because that's what tends to happen a lot on Kickstarter.
Just some other news that sort of related back to Nintendo stuff. If you can't afford a Switch and you are interested in Pokemon, there's been rumors that Tamagotchi, an Eevee Tamagotchi, a Pokemon Tamagotchi, will be coming next year. So if you're into that
these.
stuff,
I had no idea.
Yeah, it does look like it might be a Japanese exclusive, but yeah. So far, there's only been Japanese leaks, but that's not saying that it won't come to America. And with the success that Pokemon's had, I do think that it will come to America and Europe. Other things just to sort of cross over. We know Smash Bros. Is coming out in a few weeks. The game has been leaked somehow, and people have got hold of a cracked version to put onto their Nintendo Switch.
I'm hearing early copies were sent out. That's what happened.
I've seen a lot of people playing it, and the game looks good. The menu design, I'm a bit on the fence about, but I think that's just typical Nintendo Smash thing. I don't think it's a bad thing. But I mean, people are playing the game. the game looks good. The game is coming. Seems to be running pretty fine. So I can't condone going and jailbreaking your Switch and trying to do that. But, you know, if you want to look at some footage of it and wait until the game comes out in a few weeks, then there's now footage of that available that isn't officially from Nintendo.
Yeah.
So it's always better to look at footage like that rather than what is given to you as well.
You can,
because a lot of the time,
I guess you can, you can get a scope for it yourself. But this is really, really bad though. Like we're gonna talk about like security of like companies and how did this is probably one of the biggest releases this year. How did it manage to get released so early? So,
yeah, I mean, 2 weeks early
that's damaging.
There's been a recent surge in games in general and DRM stuff being cracked, possibly within days of release or even before release. So Hitman 2 had some of the same stuff a few weeks ago, where that game was cracked already before it came out. We've seen a lot of the people when they get early access to games, so a lot of the sports franchises do early access sort of stuff, and then before the game is even released to the general public and people have paid for this early access, the game is available on a cracked version. And I think that in turn is down to that in turn is down to why we're seeing possibly lower sales for things like the sports franchises and games which are giving early releases. Because, you know, people are learning how the DRM works and cracking it pretty early, and you know, unfortunately that does mean that, you know, people are going to go out there and try and find the game for free.
Yeah. And I think as well, it just is coming to show as well, like, I think there was like a dip in the generation, but our generation who had the PlayStation 2 have now grown up, and we kind of knew about people like chipping their PlayStation and downloading pirated games. And like, I had a PSP, it was hacked, I had pirated games on there. I also had official games as well, but like DS's, everyone had like R4 cards, and you know, that had like hundreds of games on there. I think as we've got older, that generation of like people are so much more tech savvy. We just know how to do things. Like, we just, you know, anyone, like, I think right now I could Google how do I get a version of Smash Bros. I don't even own a Switch. So you could just get it, and it is probably not very difficult at all.
I should point out, if you are looking at doing that for any reason, maybe don't, because it is very easy for people to brick your Switch that way, and you could end up with a bricked console.
Yeah, if you're honestly, if you are not clued up about things like that or anything of that nature, don't do it. Just don't bother touching it. Like, you might want to play the game early. It's not worth it. It's really not worth bricking your system.
Yeah, I can't condone that.
Nah,
enough.
Neither can I. Still, I would say, like, just wait until the game comes out, and don't, obviously, just be wary of the internet. People like to talk a lot of shit all the time. All these leaks and stuff might not necessarily be true, so just take everything with a grain of salt. Don't click on any videos that tells you it's the full gameplay. It probably is. Don't click on it and then be like, oh my god, the whole game was spoiled by me, and be outraged, because if you know there's a leak out there, then it's going to be the full gameplay. You know, the whole story mode's been leaked, every single character, the spirits have been leaked, every stage, every boss, all the music, everything. So all that information is out there, and the full game is out there as well, floating about. So just everyone needs to be careful. also Nintendo needs to look into what exactly happened and what went down.
Yeah, I mean, I think Pokemon was cracked after 3 days. So it does look like that people are getting this stuff quickly and really sort of pushing ahead with it. And the problem is there needs to be a sort of counteracting way to get on that. But I can't, studying to go into the games industry, I can't condone piracy, and I have to just point out that no matter what you think might be better, you'll think that might be free. The risk and the chance that you're gonna, you could possibly end up being convicted of something, or having someone bricking your console, hacking your system, gaining all your information.
It's
not worth saving 30, 40 quid.
This is all obviously
risk that.
Extreme circumstances, but it has happened to people. It's happened to people that I know. It's happened to me. I bricked my PSP before. I managed to restore it, but say, for example, you don't have the knowledge or know-how, you've then got a dead system on your hands. So it ain't as easy as restoring a dead system back. And you try and send that to Nintendo tech support, and they're going to tell you, you compromise your own system, we can't do anything about it. So
you void your warranty.
Yeah, and also I know that systems you can be banned offline, you can be banned from using network features due to having a pirated version of the game. So I wouldn't really risk that either. And if you are going to get the game, I would suggest to strictly stay offline. Do not play it online. And that's about it, really.
I think that's about it. We can move on to music. We did have some other stuff to cover. I'll just quickly say that obviously, if you're wondering what about all the Diablo 4 rumours and the PlayStation 5 rumours that were happening the other week, we did have that scheduled to cover, but to get on with the show, because we've still got a lot of films and music stuff to talk about, we're going to have to push that back until next episode, and we can do a big discussion on that then. But moving straight into films and TV, if you have been aware of what's been happening in films and TV this week, then you'll know in the last few days the Lion King trailer come out, the live action Lion King trailer, and a lot of people have been doing side-by-side comparisons with the original. Now, I think this film looks pretty amazing from the trailer. I'm excited for it. It's exactly what I expected, and I think the cast is going to do a good job. What do you think about this? Are you excited for this film?
Yeah, I'm really excited for this film. It's exactly the vision that I had in my head of what the Lion King film was going to be like. I don't know what anyone else thought it was going to look like, but this is what I thought it was going to look like.
Just want to point out, we spoke about this a little bit off air. You were saying that you've seen some people saying that it wasn't what they were expecting. They're expecting actual lions.
People are expecting real lions, and I don't know if they're expecting humans and lions to be in it. Like when they think of live action, that's what they think it is. Whereas they rather people say that it's still an animated film. But I just think that people they're just saying shit for effect now. You don't have to tell people that it's an animated film or a live action film to really just see that it's not all animated. It's obviously shot half and half. I just don't really understand what the problem is with the film. Obviously real lions can't sing and do the stuff that they want to achieve in the film. We're over the times of having fucking Dr. Dolittle type films. It just looks corny and it doesn't look very good anymore. So you might as well just CG some really good looking lions instead.
The problem with this film is, compared to obviously The Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast, which they've done before, the I don't think there is any humans in. No, there's not. There's no humans in the film.
Yeah, there's no.
As far as we know, they could have put some in the live action one, but
that would be really. I'd be really upset if there's humans in a live action one, because The Lion King was never about that. So for them to put humans in the live action one is just stupid. I just really don't know what people thought, because Disney have done a lot of these live action remakes, a lot more than we actually thought they've done. Because they did Cinderella, they did Beauty and the Beast. I don't know if Maleficent, that counts as one. It's still a Disney film, so it's still technically it's before
technically taking an animated character and making it live action.
Making it live action, yeah, exactly. But when it comes to animals, if you've got an all animal type of cartoon, especially like that, what is the point of training all these animals to do all these mad wild things in a film when you can just CG animate them all? I just really don't really know what people are expecting. And then people are trying to say that like it's copying The Lion King frame for frame. I was just like, what are you expecting? Of course it's copying it frame for frame. I was just like, of course it's a remake. Like it's remaking the film again. Like, this is what we expected. What do you want from this film? What do you want?
I do wonder if these people have watched the other remakes and gone, oh, you know what, when I watched Beauty and the Beast the first time, I don't remember it being like this. It's completely different, even though it's sort of a frame-for-frame remake. So Cinderella, so is The Jungle Book. You know, they have a base story that they're working off, and they fit that into a live-action thing to update it, to modernize it. They're not destroying the old film and burying it somewhere and saying you can't ever watch it again. They're just releasing it to a new audience in a new form. You know, and I'm down for that. Like, The Lion King is one of my favorite films, and to see it in live action, it is going to be weird, but you know, I'm excited. I feel like it's going to add a little bit more detail to it than what we've seen before. And if people were expecting like the musical, I don't know if you've seen the musical, where there is actually people dressed up, you know, if people were expecting that to be the big budget film,
like,
then just go watch the musical.
Yeah, well, go into the comment section right now on the IGN article for the video where it's comparing the two trailers side by side. Just looking at comment section, Tom, why are people so upset that there's like that it's CGI and it's not real animals? I'm really struggling. I'm struggling to figure out what's going on, because in Jungle Book it was exactly the same. So what's people's problems?
Okay, that first comment is extremely racist, and I'm not going to say that. I was going to read the comment out, but I'm going to skip that one because that's not ideal. No real animals, me no watch. #triggered. That's another comment. I don't know why they insist on calling it live action when it's all clearly CGI. One thing I don't think is CGI is the environments.
That's what I thought. I swear CGI. They've shot all of this in real life, like in Africa. So I don't really understand what people are talking about. It's essentially half and half. Okay, let's really draw it up then. So you're telling me Avatar's not a live action film?
That's debatable, because Pandora's not a real place. Like, Africa's a real place. But
the landscape of Lion King's not even real though. Where is that in the Lion King? Please show me where in Africa that is. Do you know what I'm saying? Where's that real life location?
Yeah, I'm just saying that the locations are real. But you know, this one looks like a good comment, so I'm going to read it out. And if I see anything while I'm reading it, I'll stop. But so this is by Nikolai. He said, "The thing that surprised me about this live-action Lion King trailer was how fake the animals looked. Way behind Jungle Book, technically, for whatever reason."
Oh my god.
To be honest, I think that the Lion King looks more realistic than the Jungle Book, but each to their own. In Jungle Book, at least they took the story in a different direction than the animated version. I think the Jungle Book live version failed badly. Not visually, but as a story. The animated version remains my all-time favourite Disney movie.
What is he?
There's
what
a
is he on
beauty
about?
to hand-drawn animation that computer animation, for all its technical perfection, cannot match. But despite its failure as a story, I respect that at least those who made the Jungle Book had the courage to try a different story angle, closer to Rupert Kipling. If Lion King matches the animated version shot for shot and line for line, like some film student assignment, as this video suggests it might, I'm not sure what the point is in making this is at all.
Because there's no... Why would you vary from the Lion King storyline?
Can we point out that this is a comment on a comparison video, where the specific point of this video IGN has made is to compare the trailer to the original film. So, of course they're going to take similar scenes to compare them to the original film. Of course the first teaser trailer from the live action film is going to use scenes from the original film because it gets people into that nostalgia feeling of going, I've watched this, oh, this is what it looks like in live action. Cool. You know, it's familiar, but it's different. And that's what people want. They don't want a Lion King that's drastically different. They want it to be familiar but different, which is going to be. You know, there's no way they're going to do scene for scene, shot for shot, line for line straight away. Number one, I don't think they can do... I'd be surprised how they do it, but I don't think they can reenact the scenes from I Just Can't Wait to Be King in live action as they did in animation, because that song the scenes in the movie for that song were very vibrant and very action packed, and I think it'd be hard to replicate that in live action compared to animation. But we'll have to wait and see. If they do that, I'd be very impressed. I wouldn't be upset.
Like,
so
it's just I'm still thinking about that guy's comment, yeah, and I'm just trying to think, this is a teaser trailer, you know, this is not even a final film, this is probably not even the test screening. Like, I don't understand. It's really hurting my head. People are really stupid. It just really goes to show how stupid people can be. Do you know what? They're not stupid, they've got stupid opinions. How about that? Because I can't say someone's stupid based on what they've said about The Lion King. Like, I really don't even care about the film that much. I've seen The Lion King. Like, it's going to be cool to watch it again in cinema. It's a modern retake. This might be the version of Lion King that, like, maybe our kids will grow up with. Who knows, innit? Like, it is what it is. They still watch the original, but this is a new version for the new generation. I just don't understand why people can't get over it. It's the same thing with the Grinch. People are hating on it because, oh, how dare they release a Grinch without Jim Carrey in it? Because Jim Carrey doesn't want to do the Grinch again. Like,
you're aware that there was Grinch films made before?
Yeah, but in the 60s. That's what I'm saying. I just don't...
there was books made before.
Dr. Seuss made the Grinch. The Grinch didn't come. Jim Carrey didn't make the Grinch, you know. Dr. Seuss made the Grinch.
If anything, the Grinch that just come out is more fitting to the original books than the live action film was.
Yeah, the live action Grinch was just really weird in comparison to, like, Dr. Seuss's book is obviously weird. It's about a green man who hates Christmas, obviously. But, like, when I watched the animated version of the film...
a very weird way to describe the
Well, it isn't it? That's essentially what it is, isn't it? He's a green man who's obviously, like, half human, or half who, and half something else. And he was just never accepted into any community. So, he hated Christmas. And the animated film of the Grinch, I went and watched it in the cinema, and I thought it was really good. So... I thought it was a really good film, and it was a good child animation. Like, I think like kids would really enjoy it. It was easy to follow. It was quite simple. I think the first Grinch was probably a lot more scary for kids. I found it really weird when I was a child. It was good, but thinking about it, it's probably pretty terrifying to see the Grinch like that. Like the way how he was.
Yeah, it was one of my favourite films, but I've always liked stuff like that. But if you look at it from a different perspective, it's something like Edward Scissorhands as well. It's like a films made for younger audiences, but they've got that slight creep to them because they're live action. And I think they get away with it because of the fact that the town, like Whoville, is obviously so stylized, and the Who's are all stylized. I think if it hadn't have been like that, I feel like it may have, the story takes like a different turn then, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But they played it while having a narrator and stuff, but
yeah,
I think the new film is more catered to kids, more catered to the original.
Yeah, it definitely was more
content,
more catered to kids. I thought it was good. Production of it was good. Illumination killed it again. They're like, I think they're up there now. Like they're like behind Pixar and that. Like Illumination, they're like the next big animation house in terms of like getting like children animated films, and they're actually trying to push the bar out and trying things a little bit differently. Like they're collaborating with different artists, bringing different music to films that are not necessarily traditionally for those kind of films, like Pharrell doing all of the Despicable Me films and birthing one of the, like, probably one of, if not the biggest songs ever now. Like, no one's not going to forget Happy. Do you know what I'm saying? The song. That is like generational, that song.
What song was that?
Happy by Pharrell.
Don't think I know what song you're on about.
Fuck off. And then now they've collaborated with Tyler, the Creator, who is the most unlikely person ever to be scoring a children's film. And he scored a children's film, and he did the opening and the ending, and it was amazing hearing him in the cinema. I felt really proud as a fan, and
I thought you were going to say as a father, though.
Yeah, as a fan, I felt really proud of him, and he also released a Grinch EP as well to go along with the film. It's like a Christmas album, and it's really, really, really good. So that's what Tyler's doing at the moment. That's my brief Grinch review. The only thing I would say about it is it's a bit short. It was a short film. It was very short. That's the only like real problem that I had with the film. And
how short was it?
I think it was about like an hour and maybe 20 or something like that. It's really short, but I guess that they need that so kids don't lose attention. But not really, because the Avengers are like nearly 3 hours long each time. So
yeah, but we should point out the last time we watched the Avengers, I fell asleep during the Avengers, and I feel like you did too at some point.
Yeah, that's because that film just got tiring though. There was so much going on in it. Like
there was no breaks.
There was no breaks. There was fights everywhere, man. I was like, oh my god, here we go again. My heart's starting to race again. But
I remember going to sleep and waking up, and I didn't know how long had passed. I think only like 5 minutes had passed, but I had no idea what was going on. So much stuff had happened. It's 1 hour 45 minutes as well, The Grinch.
It felt really fast. Maybe that's a good thing that the film felt pretty fast. Like I was enjoying it. So
it's normally a sign of a decent film.
Yeah, if it like goes fast. I just thought it was really quick. And the music in it as well was really, really good use of music. I liked all the tracks. Brockhampton was in it as well. They used one song from them, which was pretty big for them. So, and it was a clean version of a song as well. So,
the soundtrack did look pretty good for it. They used a lot of artists you probably wouldn't expect to be, on a movie like this, you could say. Like, for example, you've just mentioned Tyler and Brockhampton.
Yeah.
I can't find anyone else on the thing.
I think Run DMC's on it. Quite a few. It's just different. A lot of Christmas albums. I mean, like Christmas songs are on there. So like,
Run DMC are on there. Jackson 5, obviously. Santa Claus is coming to town. Some Supreme songs. More Run DMC, Nat King Cole. Obviously, some of these are quite like
iconic Christmas songs anyway, yeah.
But you do have to take into account that like you wouldn't normally see a mix of these songs in a film like The Grinch. So yeah, Illumination obviously as well, like you mentioned before, I've always been, or not always, but since they did Despicable Me, have considered taking into account like artists and how they can improve upon the film as well. And we saw that with obviously Pharrell, and not only did it give Pharrell more of a boost in the pop industry, you could say, but also in turn for that, it then gave the movie more exposure and vice versa, and it works like that. So yeah,
well, definitely that, like Despicable Me, Happy, that got Pharrell into the ears of like the masses, not just people who already knew about Pharrell. Like, I've been a massive fan of Pharrell since I was a kid, since Fronting came out. The first time I ever seen that music video on MTV, I thought this guy was so cool. And then like when he did NERD and that like lap dance and stuff, I just thought he was just sick. Like, but then like people wouldn't have listened to his music then, but then like now the family orientated market love Pharrell. Like the moms, the dads, the aunties, the grandmas, the granddads, they all like him because his music, they've known him now to be that accessible, happy guy. And I feel like Tyler's trying to do that rebrand slightly.
He may struggle, but we'll see.
But it's going well, I think, for him.
Oh God, there's so much stuff we've got to talk about.
There's too much stuff. Do you want to quickly go down about like what's on Netflix?
Yeah, obviously, we know that Venom's been making moves, and Sony and Marvel have announced 2 new films coming in 2020 for that. We'll go into detail on that a bit more next episode, but just a few other things that we can quickly cover. So a lot of things are coming to Netflix. Netflix are opening their game for Christmas. A lot of Christmas movies now available on Netflix again, just in time for the holiday season. They are releasing their own original Christmas film called The Christmas Chronicles, which is coming out within the next week or 2. The same goes for Mowgli, Legend of the Jungle. Obviously not a Christmas film. If you're a fan of the Jungle Book or want a slightly darker take on the Jungle Book, more to the tone of the actual Mowgli books that were written, or the Mowgli story, then this is the Warner Brothers produced Mowgli with Andy Serkis, Benedict Cumberbatch, Cate Blanchett, stars to the cast. Looks very promising. Live
Christian
action
Bale as well.
Christian Bale as well, yeah. Live action sort of take on the Jungle Book again, but coming out now on Netflix. I think it was the 7th of December?
7th of December, but it's getting limited theatre release as well. So just look out in your local cinemas to see if they're actually running it, because it's a Netflix film technically that's doing the distribution on it. So it's going to be available on streaming on the 7th of December. So unless you just want to wait until then. But if you're a film goer and you like to watch things in the cinema, then go check it out, I guess.
Yeah. Other things that are on Netflix at the moment that I've came across again in the last few days. If you're a big fan of Childish Gambino or Donald Glover, if you like a lot of Atlanta, star of The Lion King, he is going to be Simba if you're interested in him and want to see some of his stand-up when he was younger, he did stand-up comedy. If you're a fan of Community, you'll know about that. Troy and Abed. You would have known him from that. But he did a special on Comedy Central, I believe, called Weirdo. And that is now available on Netflix. So go and watch that. It is it's offensive, but it's highly funny.
It's quite funny. It's a bit different to the Childish Gambino or the Donald Glover that you're used to now, but very much the same in a sense.
Possibly.
That reminds me, I forgot to actually talk to you about this. We'll discuss this way more in detail next week, but Donald Glover's got a film coming with Rihanna soon. Like, really soon. It was premiered at his latest show. He did a show, and the film trailer came on while people were just chilling, and nobody really paid attention to the trailer. But one fan sneaked a film and filmed the trailer, and it looks really interesting. I don't know if this is to do with his new project or not, but it's got a name and everything. I can't quite remember, but we'll discuss that a lot more. And I forgot to tell you, Tom. Sorry.
Yeah, we'll look into that next time and discuss that.
Yeah.
But other things are obviously we've mentioned before, or I have mentioned, or you may have seen that Batman Ninja is obviously like a 3D-ish anime. Well, we'll just say an anime adaptation of Batman animation. If you're interested in that, then that is now on Netflix, Batman Ninja, and it gets rave reviews. I still haven't got around to watching it. Now it's on Netflix. I am actually going to watch it. I nearly watched it the other day, but it looks great. It's basically a take on Batman in more of an Eastern setting. So Batman is now taken into being like a ninja, and it's done in an anime-esque style. So if that's what you're into, and you like superheroes and anime, probably a great crossover for you to watch. Especially now you might get some more time around Christmas and the holiday season.
Yeah, I actually haven't watched the Batman Ninja film yet, and I'm really interested in it. I should really get down to watching it. I have so much shit to do. Like, I'm trying to clear my schedule. I still need to go back and play Red Dead. There's a lot, but we're actually running out of time, so we're just gonna quickly just get back onto the music section and wrap the show up. I'm going to quickly do my usual thing where I just run down the notable releases of the week. Tyler, the Creator, as I mentioned before, released the Grinch EP, just music inspired by the film. It is amazing. It's a Christmas album. It made me excited for Christmas or the holiday seasons. The Sunset Tapes, a cool tape saga. This is a brand new entry into the cool tapes kind of like collection. I guess he's doing that as this is not a sequel to Sire, as he said that it isn't. I don't know what to call it. Aries is still coming apparently, and another album's supposed to be coming as well. We're not quite sure when these projects are coming, but Jaden said that this is not a direct sequel to Sire, and it isn't an album, it is a mixtape. The tape's pretty good. Not really an extension. It's more of an extension of Sire, in my opinion. It's just him improving on that same sound in a sense, but trying to go a little bit more of the pop route. You can hear where his influences are in the actual project. You can hear a lot of Drake influence, a lot of Travis Scott influence. Slightly some Tyler and A$AP Rocky influence as well.
Mm-hmm. I just want to point out that I don't necessarily feel like it's a extension of Sire. I feel like he has took the same sound in a way and just experimented with it. There's things like the song Yeah Yeah, which is on the weekly playlist this week. It's got more of quite a pop feel to it, more current pop feel to it. But then you can go. Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say that song is definitely like a Wizkid or Sway Lee or like a Drake like song.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like that format in it, like that like Afro like beat like type format. It sounds a lot like Ganja Burns as well by Nicki Minaj.
Yeah.
Like those kind of like bouncy kind of, I guess, Afro reggae-esque type songs.
The other song,
it would do pretty well in the charts if he markets it right.
Yeah, I believe it would as well. The other song that there's a lot of good songs on there, but the other song that catches my attention is Fallen Part 2. So going back to your comment about an extension of Sire, that is sort of an extension of Sire because it's a part 2 to a song off that. And it's basically talking about how, I mean, he goes quite deep in this about how his previous relationship ended, and even still talks about like he still has your clothes in. I've still got your clothes in my room, laying on the floor. It's quite interesting to see how he dives deep into that and gets quite emotional.
Do you know what? Now I think about it, yeah. This might have been Aries or whatever it's called, and he might have just thought it's not good enough to be the next album, because having Fallen Part 2 on there is a bit weird if it wasn't going to be a direct sequel to the album.
Why?
Like Aries is going to be.
I think it's because I think obviously like you can still have a part 2 on it. So we've seen with like Kanye had Ghost Town Part 2 on Kids See Ghosts. So we've seen that part 2s don't necessarily have to come on a following album.
But you got to think now, Ye and Kids See Ghosts were released in hand with each other though, weeks apart. So it's still kind of like, I think it was still the same Kanye. Do you know what I mean? Like that mindset.
But at the same time, I think it's because the relationship's still fresh. So if you're to release a part 2 from a song that was maybe written about someone, about falling for them, then you sort of have to do it at a relevant time. If Eris is coming in a year, it might not be relevant. I do see what you're saying,
but also, don't you think it's weird how he released Ghost, and it says Ghost was from Airs, and then instead he released the Sunset tapes? Isn't that a bit weird though? Like, why would you release a single for an album that's not coming for another year now?
Well, we haven't seen Goku on it either, so...
Yeah, exactly. That I don't even think Goku's attached or anything. Not that I know of. But I know Ghost is definitely attached to Airs though.
Well,
either way, yeah, the tape's alright. It's just an alright. If you don't like Jaden Smith, you're not gonna like the tape. So like, it's just him again, really, just doing what he does. I don't think it's bad though. Like, I think it's pretty good. So I like to listen to it. But anyway, Addison Paak released Oxnard. Really, really great album. Don't really have a lot of time to just do a deep dive on it. We'll try and do that next week. There's a new guy I've seen. His name's called Malik Ruff. His album's called Quadri. Really, really cool album. I seen it on Twitter like about a week ago, and I checked him out. He's really cool. That's going to be on the playlist. Infinity 33 by Deej. He's from the We Did It collective. Bunch of really talented producers. They've produced a lot of bangers for people. Deej is very talented. The album has got like an A-list cast like of like bunch of different rappers and like singers. Notable ones: Lil Yachty, AJ Tracy, Young Lean, Swoosh God, all those kind of people. ASAP Nast. So it's really, really good. Earl's released a new single along with his album title called Some Rap Songs, coming out this Friday. Of course, the show is getting released on this Tuesday. We're recording it currently. Very, very, very hot off the trail of recording. It'll be along this week. And it's called The Mint. Earl sounding like he's in great shape. So I think the album's going to be fire. Creed 2, the album, that's the soundtrack to Creed. It's executively produced by Mike Will. It's got some really cool songs on there. Check it out. It seems like it's the years of, well, not even just the years of soundtracks. Soundtracks are becoming a lot more important again. The 1975's album is currently out there. It has been leaked. It's not officially released, but it is coming out, I believe, this week sometimes. But I'm seeing some early reviews of the album, and it's supposed to be pretty impressive. I've never really checked them out, so I'm gonna check them out because their look and everything's really interesting. As opposed to when the 1975 first came out, I just thought it was all for more towards like the teenage like girl demographic, and I just thought this is not the type of music I want to listen to.
Are you not a big Ariana Grande fan?
No. Brain Feeder, her last album's really good though. Sweeten is very good. Brain Feeder X is a like almost like a collaborative compilation album of Brain Feeder X, which is headed by the talented Flying Lotus. Has a whole host of talented people underneath him, like Thundercat. The list actually goes on. Like I can't even read out the amount of people that are all underneath Brain Feeder. I had no idea that all these people were part of it. Talking Monster, Miguel, Baptista Benedict, James Zhu, Moni Pollard. These are like, a lot of them are producers. Jeremiah J. There's quite a lot of people. These are all a lot of independent artists that tend to thrive under these kind of like record labels because they just get to essentially do whatever they like. DiCaprio 2 by Dreamville, that's J. Cole record label. Jid is out. It's supposed to be a really, really good project. Got a couple skits on there by Zach Fox. If you don't know who Zach Fox is, get to know. Dummy Boy by King 6IX9INE, who's currently been caught with a Fed charge, which we'll be talking about in a minute. And Diplomatic Ties by the Diplomats, aka Dipset, aka Jim Jones, Cameron, Jewels. Yeah, if you're trying to listen to some real New York stuff, then definitely get in on him. Yeah, I'm not on them because you know it's Dipset. They're just legends. Yeah. So, what do you want to talk about? You want to talk about 6ix9ine, or do you want to talk about what's his topic talk about? Rich the Kid and Ray Sherman becoming models.
Oh, that was just something I came across. Yeah, apparently they signed a modeling deal with, I can't remember who it was called, but there's not much to it, to be honest. It's just the fact that Rich the Kid and Ray Schmoder are becoming models now with Wilhelmina. So they signed a deal with Wilhelmina and they're going to be models. That's it. Just basically showing that more artists now musically are becoming models, getting more into the fashion industry. The two industries are becoming more interlinked than ever before.
And I will go and say that Ray Sherman and Rich the Kid, they are pretty like flashy and like pretty loud, and like their fashion is pretty like cool. So it doesn't really make like, it's not like, oh wow, like why are you picking them? Because it's pretty good, to be honest. They also represent Nicki Minaj, Shawn Mendes, and Niall from One Direction. So,
well, we're seeing like the why is it like the generation of music and fashion combined, like the amount of collaborations between fashion and music we have. Even
it's
like,
closer than ever.
Even Post Malone doing his collaboration with Crocs and them selling out, like it shows you how the influence. Like no one would touch Crocs, but if Post Malone makes Crocs, they sell out because that's the influence.
See, that's where you're wrong though, because Balenciaga already did some Crocs and they sold out as well. That's like, it is literally just branding. Like obviously Balenciaga is one of the biggest brands of all time now. Like it is, everyone loves Balenciaga, like from like the roadman to like Chinese exchange students. Everyone loves Balenciaga. Everyone's wearing it. it is expensive as hell. Like, and Post Malone is such a big name. Like, he's one of the biggest artists like this year. His album's done amazing. His tour is done amazing. So for him to come out with something like that, it just makes sense. Do you know what I'm saying? He will sell out. Like, I feel like Post Malone can make like he can make anything really, and he could probably sell it now. He's got that big. He's that hot. So yeah, it's just obviously it's just all about branding. But we could talk about that for hours. Yeah. So
I'm waiting.
How branding works.
I'm waiting for that Post Malone waifu pillow. That's what I'm waiting for.
And yeah, we're moving on to the next topic.
Yeah, we've probably just covered this. So, what, 6ix9ine? I think everyone knows now. If you don't know, you should probably get up to date with the news. You know, this guy could be going down for life, unless he snitches, which is reported to have done.
Which is, there's a lot of suggestion that is basically saying that 6ix9ine is cut a deal and he's essentially like been moved to a protective prison. Well,
we know that he needs the money. So that basically, other stories have come out this week as well that his former manager Shotty, when he went on tour, 6ix9ine, he was given by his promoter for the tour. 6ix9ine was given £300,000 for completing the tour, by his manager, sorry, and then his promoter said to him, "Well, you should have at least sort of $3 million for that tour. So where's all the other money gone?" And apparently his former manager was pocketing or has pocketed £2.5 million worth of his tour money. And it's basically a situation where I think someone like 6ix9ine, very young guy, very misinformed, and I think he just sort of goes with what he's told a lot of the time, and is very susceptible to just being dragged into stuff.
See, that's the thing though. I'm like really confused because I feel like 6ix9ine I feel like he's really smart as well at the same time. Like, the way how he's moved in this game, he's never been touched once. He talks shit about everyone. Do you know what I'm saying? The man was talking shit about Chief Keef and YG, and nothing happened to him. Yeah, he got shot at a couple of times, but now we're hearing that these shots are by his own crew. So, like, it just really goes to show, like, he isn't as stupid as he is. And also, we all know for a fact, 6ix9ine is a character. He ain't really 6ix9ine. His real name's Daniel Hernandez. That's who the real person is. 6ix9ine is a character. He didn't know it was going to get this serious. I really think he didn't know. Do you think he thought he was going to get this serious?
Honestly, no. I don't think that he dyed his hair in multiple colours and did all this outlandish shit and thought he was going to actually make it big. Like, you've got to think of where the guy come from. So, like, if you go back a few years, the 6ix9ine we see now is completely different to the 6ix9ine we saw then. And that's not necessarily a good thing, but also not necessarily a bad thing. Like, he gets himself in a lot of trouble now, but like you said, he's not been touched, so...
Exactly.
But I do think that... Sorry, go on.
He didn't even, like... That's why I think it's all so, like, character-driven. Like, all of this is all so, like... It's all so crafted. Like, it's all like a narrative. Like, it's like a film that's playing out. Like, of course his album was supposed to come out. He's one of the biggest releases of this year. He's one of the biggest guys this year. And yet, of course, he manages to get caught up with a Fed charge the week before his album comes out, his album, which is now leaked, and it's supposed to be pretty good, I don't listen to him because I don't agree with him as a person. And he's had some other cases happen to him, and you know,
we're not mentioning that.
We ain't mentioning it, but let's just say I don't listen to 6ix9ine, and I don't think Tom listens to 6ix9ine either. If
you're aware of who he is and the industry in general, of what it is, like the hip hop industry, then you already know what we're on about right now. But if not, just Google convictions or something, 6ix9ine convictions, and you'll see something. You know, that's all we have to say about that. But yeah, yeah. At the end of the day, like, I'll always say it, I don't have to agree with people, but I still respect the hustle to get to where you are, to be in a place. Like, I can't disagree with that.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean I condone all the behavior and everything that people do to get to that place, or what they've done even before they've got to that place. Like, I can still disagree with that. I don't have to listen to them, but it still takes hard work to get somewhere. So I respect his hard work, but at the end of the day, I'm not a fan. No, I think you feel the same on that. I feel like we don't listen to him, but you have to sort of respect it from a work point of view.
Obviously, we essentially made it hard because, you know, it is our job essentially to review all this music, to look at all this news, and, you know, we have to look at all of this stuff, and, you know, we have to listen to the music in order to get an insight. And the kid he's not shit. He actually makes pretty good music. Like, he can rap, and it's really sad, obviously, what's happened to him, because he seems quite talented in what he does. But that doesn't, so is Triple X as well. That doesn't really stop the fact that, like, me personally, I'm not going to be listening to a person who conducts himself in such a way. Do you know what I'm saying? So it is what it is, isn't it? You know what I'm saying? I can respect him. I respect the hustle. I respect the grind. I respect the, you know, the talent and stuff like that. But of course, it is what it is. The Fed charges is sad. It's sad for everyone involved in it, because that's a lot of time that some of these people are looking at. That's just shit. That's just years you can't get back. So, honestly, I would have been hoping that, you know, that they were going to stop doing this shit when they got big enough. Do you know what I'm saying? But obviously, whatever was going on wasn't being stopped. So, as I said before, it is what it is. I hope the case goes okay, I guess, innit? Like,
yeah, we've mentioned before, obviously, about things like this and people getting caught up in the wrong scenarios with the police in this industry in recent times, and how it's not necessarily benefiting it in any way. Like, there's definitely something that someone could do or people can do to prevent this stuff from happening, but it doesn't seem to be a thing at the moment. I understand marketing wise, you know, it's a good marketing ploy, good marketing tactic, but at the end of the day, if you have to do that, you should probably consider putting more work and effort into the music that you are going to be making, because if you make something good, at the end of the day, it is going to sell. Like, that's how it works, especially with streaming platforms now. The opportunity to get discovered or to even spread wider than ever before is easier than ever. You know, you don't have to release a mixtape and hand it out to people on the street. You can do it online and spread it. But, you know, people still going to stick to the old tactics of trying to create a story to generate publicity and stuff. We've seen that with Kanye before. Kanye is one of the best at doing it, but it doesn't exactly please everyone. But I suppose that is what divides opinion. But it's not exactly what we want to be seeing from people that I'm basically sort of getting into the pop game a little bit now as well. You know, you're verging on pop. You shouldn't be doing what you're doing. You shouldn't be involved with those people, and people shouldn't be reading about that. Especially kids shouldn't be reading about what you're getting up to.
And also, you can't be out here gangbanging and saying all these things in your lyrics about you're a real guy and you're a real goon, and then going on the radio and saying, yeah, I'm no longer a part of Treyway and I will no longer be associating myself with gangs. Like, what do you mean? That's your whole image. Like, how could you now say you're not associating yourself? And do you know why? Because his court, his probation, his probationary, I don't know, like terms and stuff like that, he had to dissociate himself from, like, I say, like, gang culture, because he's a part of, like, Bloods in New York. So I don't really want to talk too much about all this stuff. I'm not that informed. I ain't trying to get myself like, I know we're in England, yeah, but you never know. So, like, I don't know too much about what's going on there, but, all I'm saying is you're supposed to be a real guy, yeah. You're supposed to be a real street goon. You can't then tell yourself that, I'm no longer a part of the Bloods, and then, like, still you're capitalizing off people who really are in these gangs and really do this, and this their life, and you're just capitalizing it off it for entertainment. Yet when you really get caught up, you want to be talking about how you disassociate yourself. Yeah, it's a bit weird, in my opinion, but it is what it is. I said before, as I said, it's sad. It's just sad for the family. That's what I think. Like, if people got children or whatever, like, their father's going away for quite a while, and then nothing you could really do about it, because that's some serious charges. Like the FBI, the ATF, New York Police Department, I can't remember who else as well. A lot of the DEA were all working together in order to pin this group down, and 6ix9ine. So it was a serious investigation.
Mm-hmm.
There ain't no little charges. Very serious investigation. So
yeah,
but yeah, let's finish on something a little bit lighter and a little more happier, I guess. Do you want to introduce the topic, Tom?
Yes. So obviously, I say obviously. Not that obvious, but this week is the 25th anniversary of Doggy Style, Snoop Dogg's debut album. If you haven't listened to that album, give it a listen. It's available on streaming platforms, I believe. It's a great album. I can't even... There's not a lot of ways to describe it.
Yeah, there's no way to say that other than it's a rap classic. Like,
it changed the game in a way.
Yeah, it definitely changed the game, from the beats to the way how Snoop Dogg was rapping.
Although both of us can't really say that because the album came out before we were born, but still, like...
Yeah, obviously, but when we did listen to it, obviously when we was of age, or like when we did get around to listening to it, I listened to it when I was quite young. I thought it was really, really cool. It still has the essence of hip hop within it. It's like an album you can go back to and you can know what was going on in that time period of hip hop. Like, it's like encapsulated within an album, especially geolocation wise, what was going on specifically in, where Snoop Dogg was at, which is in California, and especially the gang wars that were going on around the time, just coming off like the trails of like NWA, and you got all these other people like buzzing around. Dre's doing his own thing. I think like Pac was just popping off then as well, like, so yeah.
If you haven't listened, then it is available on Spotify right now, and I believe Apple Music as well. So go give it a listen. And just sort of end the show and talk about other stuff to listen to. Our weekly playlist, as always, is available. The same time the show is aired, and all the archive playlists and the collection are available as well. So all of them are available on Spotify or Apple Music. Just search for 808s and Joysticks weekly playlist. If you want to follow us on social media, then feel free to follow us on Instagram at 808s and Joysticks or 808s and Joysticks News for relevant posts depending on when we are going live on Dash Radio or when a new playlist or episode is released. Or if you just want updates on the gaming industry in general, then both those accounts will give you those. If you follow us on Twitter, you can get all of that in one place. That's 808s and Joystick. So if you follow 808 and Joystick on Twitter, you'll get all of that. And then obviously feel free to like us on Facebook as well if that is your preferred platform. Do you have anything else that you want to say before we end?
Nah, I think I'm good still. Just that we made it to episode 20. Thank you to everyone who's listened. It's really, really massively important that people are just listening. We never ever thought we would get so much traction and steam that we have. We're just trying to improve every show. We want to give you better experiences, better shows, better production. We're just trying our best to just up the game. It's not easy as well, being two students that are in their final year of university. As anyone who's done that process of education will know how hard and stressful this time of our life can be. The show is really an outlet for us to just basically talk some shit about some topics between two really good friends, and I'm very grateful for the show and what it's done for us as two people. This could be a start of something really big for us. So thank you very much for listening as always. Tom, you got anything else to add?
I just want to leave it on a sort of come back to what you said. It could be the start of something new, as Troy and Gabriella once sung on High School Musical.
Jesus Christ.
Was that not how you wanted to end it?
You got nothing better to say than that. I just did this long emotional speech and you got to bring up High School Musical. Fuck it. Thanks, guys, for listening to the show. I'm Tyrell. As always, we're on episode 20, 808s and Joysticks. Goodbye.
If you liked any of the music in today's show, then please check the credits in the description to see what songs we used.